Hi sophomores, welcome to week 7 of Multimedia Design and the second week of your sound design unit. So before we talk about the content for the week, let's talk about what is due by Sunday. So by Sunday, you will be turning in your Where I'm From written poem, and I'll give you more instructions on how to do that later on. You will also be turning in your Where I'm From audio recording. So not only will you be writing your poem, you will also be recording it this week and turning that in. But let's go back to last week when we talked about sound design. So I told you that word design was very important because everything in this world is made to serve a purpose. And the same thing can be said about sound. It serves a purpose to make you feel something or make you remember something. But let's give you the textbook definition of sound design so you have an idea of what it says. So it reads that it is the art of and practice of creating soundtracks for a variety of needs. It involves specifying, acquiring, or creating auditory elements using audio production techniques and tools. So it's really just a fancy way of saying that you are taking audio and you are producing it, so you're editing it to make something of it to serve a purpose. So there is 2 videos that are included in this week's lesson that I highly recommend that you watch on your own time. The first one is this one. If you have seen the movie A Quiet Place, the movie is told entirely through acting and external sounds. There is really no dialogue in this movie to tell the story. So they heavily rely on the sounds that the audience is hearing. And this gives you a behind the scene looks of how they produce these sounds and how they were able to tell their story through only sounds. It is extremely cool to see how sounds are made and what props they use, and it might not be what you think it is. The second video is a TED Talk that walks you through first, how is sound produced in movies? So if you need a sound of somebody punching someone, you're not going to have your 2 actors punching each other. You're going to have to figure out a way to engineer that sound in a recording studio. So they walk you through how does this happen and how do they actually do this. The second part of the video walks you through more concepts of sound design that are really helpful to keep in mind when recording, when editing, when producing your project. So I highly recommend that you take the time to watch both of these videos because they will be extremely helpful. Now let's talk about your WIF project. So your WIF project is that big project of this unit. So we're starting on it today and we will be working on it until the end of the semester. So WIF stands for Where I'm From. So we are creating a project that showcases you, how unique you are, and where you come from. So this tends to be a very personal project, which is one of my favorite things about it. And the only person that ends up listening to this project is myself. So it gives students an opportunity to feel comfortable to make it personal. So let's break it down. So this project has 2 components. The first component is that you will be writing your poem itself, right? I give you a template. The template is on Canvas and it has sentence starters, and then it gives you things that you can write in the lines. So it gives you clues and it gives you guidance as you're writing. Now, when you're writing and you're looking at the lines, maybe some of the lines don't apply to you. Maybe you don't know some of the information that the lines are asking for, and that is perfectly okay. You can change the lines to make it fit you as you're telling your story, as long as you have the same number of lines as the template. So if the template has 9 lines, at the end of it, you should also have 9 lines. This ensures that your project is the correct length. So once you have this written component of it, then you move into actually producing your project. So you will be recording this poem. So you should rehearse the poem several times, make sure that you know the flow of it, make sure you know how you want to say things, and then you will be finding a quiet place to record. And you will be recording with a device that has audio capabilities that you have accessible to you. So it might be a phone, it might be a tablet, could even be your computer. Once you record it, that is where the production aspect of sound design comes in. So there's 4 elements that I'm looking for in your final project. So once you get to that final draft, there's 4 things that I look for in terms of grading. The first element is voiceover, which we will be working on this week. So that is you writing your poem and recording your poem. The second element is score, and that is finding a background song to play behind your poem. So it should give you a feeling to your story, but it should not overpower your poem. So that background music should be low enough that I can still hear your poem clearly. You can feel free to take up the volume in between pauses, in between words, however best fit your story, but you need to have some background music. The third one is sound effects. So you will be finding 2 words, 2 phrases in your poem that you can find sound effects for. So you may be talking about the sound of a chaotic house in the morning when you wake up. And you'll then be going online and finding a free sound that sounds like that it is a chaotic house. Or you may be talking about the sizzling sound of when your mom cooks. Then you will go online and find a sizzling sound effect. You need to do 2 of these, and they need to play before the word, after the word, or in conjunction with the word. So as you're saying the line, the sound effect can play at the same time. Again, it should not be overpowering your words either. And you're going to need to find 2 of those. And the fourth element is sound escape. So how are you putting it all together in order to do good sound design, good sound production? So are the feelings there? If you were going for certain feelings of sadness in certain points, am I feeling this? Are you conveying this through your sounds and your poem and your production in general? So those are the 4 elements that I'm going to be looking for when grading your final draft. However, there will be some drafts in between, so don't get scared. So this week, we're going to be working on the first 2 elements. So you will be writing your poem, you will be recording your poem, which that is your first element, and you will also be finding a background song to go into your poem. So we'll be taking care of the first 2 elements. For the next draft, we'll take care of the other 2, and then you'll put them all together for your final. So it's a process. So let's talk about how to properly record your audio. So before you record, you must practice your poem. So read through it several times, whether that is out loud or to someone else. Just practice. You don't want to get tripped up in words as you're going through the poem. It is okay if you make mistakes. It totally happens. But try to just have a smooth run. You should be taking breaks between the lines. I don't want you to just be reading your poem so quick that I can't tell where your pauses are. Go slow. Take your time with your poem. You can always edit out long pauses, but it's very hard to add pauses that sound natural to your video. It is okay if you make mistakes. Try again. You should not just be recording your poem once. Maybe your first try was really good, but try it a second time. Maybe you want to say a word differently, or maybe you didn't like the way something sounded. You should be trying more than once to do it. You should be finding a quiet room with no background noises. I know this is extremely hard doing this at home, but try your best to find a noise-free environment. Even if it's just 10 minutes, try to not have background noises. Use your phone, computer, iPad, whatever you have available to record, and don't get too close to the recorder. So if you notice my setup, I always have a mic, but the mic sits kind of far away from me, but not too far that it can't pick up my sound, but not too close that it's going to be picking up absolutely everything. Maybe it might pick up the way I move my hands. So keep this in mind when setting up how you're going to record. You don't want it to be too far away, but also not too close. So in order to help you accomplish all of these things, there is going to be a how-to video on how to multi-track edit. So I'm going to walk you through, okay, once that you have 2 sounds, how do you take both sounds into Adobe Audition and edit them? How do you add pauses? How do you change volume? How do you move things around? How can you add effects to more than one track? I'm going to walk you through all of those steps that are going to help you complete this week's assignment. So you already got some introduction to Audition last week by doing a single track. This week, we're going to move it to more than one. So let's walk through Canvas to show you what you need to get done this week. Always remember that mine looks a little bit different because I'm looking at it from the instructor side. So you have your week 7 video, which you're watching right now. You have the presentation if you need to review something. And then you have the tech talk that is linked. Highly recommend you watch it along with the video that is linked in the presentation. And then you have your WIFT activity prompt. This is the big activity prompt for the project that I'm going to be grading on for your final draft. I highly recommend that you look at it, you read it, you take the time to examine it. So as you're working through your project, you already know what I'm going to be looking for when grading. This activity prompt also has 4 resources on where you can find free sounds and free music. And then you will see your how-to multi-track editing. Watch the video, will highly help you accomplish this week's assignment. Then this is where you will be turning in your WIF poem. So that is the written component. So when you click on it, you will see that it gives you instructions and it gives you a link to the template of the poem. Once you get to the template of the poem, either make a copy in Google Drive or download it and fill it out as a Word document. Once you completely fill it out, save it, upload it to Canvas and turning in. And then the last one will be turning in your WIF recording session. So it gives you a link to the activity prompt. It talks you through how are you going to record, what are the best practices when doing it at home, and then it reminds you of what you need to do for the assignment. So you're going to be recording, and then you're going to be taking it into Audition, finding a background song, and starting to edit those two together. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want you to get your voice and the background song. Once you do this, you will be done for the week. If you have any questions as you're working through the assignment or the module, feel free to email me and I'll be happy to help. That is it for this week, and I'll see you next week.